It's 7:35 West African time. This is Daybreak. Thank you for staying with us. Now, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, has raised strong concerns over Nigeria's growing public debt, warning that without transparent management and strict oversight, the burden could threaten the nation's economic stability and future. Abbas was represented at the 11th Annual Conference of the West Africa Association of Public Accounts Committees in Abuja by House Leader Julius Ihombere, cautioned that Nigeria's debt-to-GDP ratio had hit 52%, exceeding the legal ceiling of 40%, and called on parliaments throughout West Africa to intensify their scrutiny of government borrowing to protect their citizens' future. Now, he calls for a shift from external borrowing to domestic resource mobilization and intra-African financial solutions.
In Nigeria, recent available data indicate that our debt trajectory has reached a critical point, showing that, like many African countries, we continue to borrow internally and externally to fund capital and sometimes non-capital projects. This highlights the urgent need for a stronger oversight, transparent borrowing practices, and a collective resolve to ensure that tangible economic and social returns match every naira borrowed. Across Africa, debt levels have reached alarming proportions. By 2022, the continent's total public debt has reached $1.8 trillion, with external debts alone surpassing $1 trillion by 2023. Several countries are now in dangerous debt-to-GDP territory.
Well, for more on this, we are joined in the studio by Honorable Phillips Agbese. He is the Deputy Spokesperson of the House of Representatives. Honorable Phillips Agbese, thank you for joining us on Daybreak.
It's a pleasure. Thanks.
Now, let's start by looking at the statement issued by the Speaker, though represented by Honorable Julius Ihombere, talking about Nigeria being at a critical point in its debt situation, which, according to him, had hit 52%, exceeding the statutory 40% ceiling. The reality seems more poignant than the retraction of the statement saying that Nigeria's debt could be used for development and growth. Where do we really stand here? Because even when we look at the debt to revenue ratio, it's 70%. So it's really, really high, and many Nigerians believe that it's a critical point for the Nigeria's economic situation. You could respond to this.
Well, thank you very much, and I also want to thank Nigerians for their interest in what we do in the Parliament and their confidence in the Right Honourable Speaker Tajuddin Abbas for all that we have done and achieved within the last 2 years in office as a Parliament. Coming back to the issue of debt and borrowing, I think that the clear position of the Parliament is that whatever money we take locally or from international partners must be utilized properly for the good and well-being of our citizens. And basically what we do, since we came on board, Mr. Speaker, as a matter of fact, has actually been concerned about the state of the nation, and this we have argued a couple of times. And for the current government, I won't talk about what we meant to grant, but for the current government, what we have done so far is to ensure a high level of transparency and accountability in the resources that they've been able to mobilize across the world. And if you look at it, basically, the country is yearning for development across all the federal constituencies and the senatorial district. Every village today has one essential need or the other that government has to address. And this brings us to the issue of borrowing. The current administration, from our books in the Parliament, we do not think that they have engaged in excessive borrowing. As a matter of fact, Mr. Speaker, immediately after the speech was delivered, We looked at those issues and the issues that were raised by a segment of the media. And as a matter of fact, I do not think that they align with the thinking going by the speech of the Honorable Speaker as was delivered at that event. Yes, as a parliament, we caution from time to time because that is our responsibility. Part of our oversight function, is to sound the warning to the executive to always put them on their toes and to assure Nigerians that we're always watching. And so far, I think the executive, have been meticulous in dealing with this borrowing and its utilization.
Okay. Okay. Well, the ceiling of 40% was one that was created so that we would know what excessive means. So when we're within 40%, that means that we are within our limits given the context of our economy and the intricacies of our economy. And when we exceed that, it means that we have gone into the realm of excessive borrowing. Now, what many people are saying is that given that the Speaker was able to share these very boldly, and it was welcomed by many, not just in the political space, but even professionals, economists, and so forth, and the polity at large, welcomed and commended his admission of what is the reality of our economy at the moment. And then he later sort of recanted and had to re-explain what he meant. Many people are saying this is symptomatic of the relationship that the legislature has with the executive. There is no separation of powers. There's heavy influence. And in fact, just like the Red Chamber, seems like the Green Chamber also falls under the stigma of rubber stamp. Was the Speaker gently, threatened or encouraged to walk back his statements because they were not favorable to the executive?
No, that is not correct. We actually speak to issues, and the issues on ground as far as the country is concerned today is that there is a dire need, for infrastructural development. And like I mentioned earlier, every village, every community in this country today is in need of basic necessities of life. So what do you do as a government? Because our responsibility as a parliament, of course, it is the duty of the executive to implement, source for the resources and implement these resources. And when the source for this resource, it is also the responsibility of Parliament to ensure that we scrutinize. And so far, so good. Since 2023, when we came on board, we have taken our time to diligently scrutinize, every single borrowing, either locally or from the international partners. And so far, we can tell Nigerians confidently that yes, the executive is on track. Now, when you mention the issue of the Speaker
Honorable
being
Philip,
a rubber stamp,
go on.
or if
Yes,
someone
walking
was
back
threatened.
his statements.
No,
Yes.
no. He didn't walk back his statement. We only put the statement in the right perspective. We do not want a situation where Nigerians begin, to put words in our mouth and say, this is what you have said. And what we do in the parliament, as a matter of fact, we do our work professionally. And in doing that, even when the executive approach us for approvals for them to be able to source for money, we also look at other international economies. For instance, Japan, which is about half the size of our country. You look at their loans, their debt obligations to other countries. Look at countries like Spain, Italy, and others.
But Japan is not a monoproduct economy. Let's focus on the fact that our limit is 40%. Japan's economic profile allows it to go up to 200% purely because of the diversity of that economy. We're a monoproduct economy. So are you saying that the Speaker didn't intend to tell us that we've surpassed the limit of 40% to an excessive point of 52%? Are you saying that that wasn't his intention to share that information?
No, that wasn't his intention. And let me put it clearly, because before we came in 2023, the budget of this country was just about 25 trillion naira. Today we are operating about 60 trillion naira budget. So for you to be able to service this budget and the projects and expenditures that be captured in this budget, you actually need to take resources. So the question of 40% and what other countries are taking, if for instance you say Japan or any other country can take about 200% of its resources, why do you think Nigeria should stop at 40%? And again, what is also important for us as parliamentarians is the fact that, you know, Nigeria is in dire need of rapid development. When these monies are taken, will the executive utilize this money dutifully to the benefit of all citizens? Are we in need of road? Are we in need of infrastructure? Because if you look at it again, when you take loans, you borrow, you also reinvest that money for the future of your country. The infrastructure that we're building and developing as a government, you know, they are for the use of our citizens. So if we take this money, I think what citizens and the parliament...
I appreciate that you're bringing up infrastructure.
Yes, yes.
Because I want to ask you something very important about the 48-hour ultimatum that the House of Representatives has given our Minister of Transportation, Al-Khali. It said that he snubbed the National Assembly after the train derailment with 618 people involved. And I believe you had very strong comments for him saying that he was disregarding the Nigerian people.
Yes, but actually I think yesterday, even before we finished, the minister got wind of that summon and he made efforts to appear same yesterday. So I think shortly we'll be done with that issue because he has also made efforts to say he is ready to appear before us today. Thanks to the proactive nature of the current government, because in time past we didn't have this kind of executive that will respond to summons by the parliament. So we are going to deal with that issue. And when we mention the issue of borrowing, you know, to service a critical infrastructure, of course, the rail project, you know, for some time it has not been what it used to be, and the government is trying to source resources to invest in that sector again. And aside that, if you drive around the Federal Capital Territory, you also see the wonderful job being carried out by the Honorable Minister of the Federal Capital Territory. We're in need of this infrastructure and we want these things to go around. So our duty as a parliament is to ensure that not just what we borrow as a country, even the states, you know, because we also give approval for the states to be able to take foreign loans. So we also look at what the states are doing. Are they reinvesting the money properly? Are they putting it in the right place? And you know today that we are all moving towards renewable energy sources. So solar projects are being carried out in the country. If people are borrowing to invest in water projects, you know definitely they are not just investing into the future of the country, but the well-being of the citizens of this country. That is exactly what Mr. Speaker is interested in, and that is what we are doing as a parliament to ensure that we see to rapid development of the country. Again, we're also concerned because if a government is going to take loans from external sources, as a parliament, we also look at the interest rate, you know, how it will impact on the economy immediately and even in the long run. So these are the things we look at. We don't just look at the figures to say, okay, this is what government is taking. No, we look at what government is going to invest that money. And as a parliament, we also have a responsibility, you know, to follow it that this money has been well invested in the country.
Okay, Honorable. Well, some people are saying that the real problem isn't actually the borrowing, but it's poor revenue collection. Now, is the House doing enough to hold the executive accountable for all of these weak tax policies that force Nigerians to borrow more?
Yes, I think it is not really about that we don't borrow because we do not generate enough revenue. Countries don't actually borrow because they do not generate revenue. Let's put that very clear. You borrow because you want to service, you know, other obligations that you consider to have long-term impact on your economy and on your citizens. Because, for instance, some of these borrowings that we do is like reinvesting into the future. You take a loan today with a good interest rate, repayable within a period of 30 to 40 years, and you invest that money. So you give life to the generation of your country that are currently in existence, and you also reinvest into the future of your country. But as a parliament, we have always made it very clear to the executive and to all Nigerians that, yes, as a parliament whose one of its cardinal principles is to promote accountability and transparency, we will always follow the executive. And in the last 2 years, we have ensured that every single money, either our revenue sources or from borrowings that are properly invested. We follow this money. We do this through our oversight activities, and from time to time, we invite members of the executive to come and explain to us what they are doing with the taxpayer resources. So for us as a parliament, it is about accountability and transparency.
Okay, talking about fiscal reforms now, when we look at the entire outlook for debt to GDP ratio, we could see that Sudan, Mozambique, and Cape Verde, they are topping the chart. They have more debt to GDP ratio, and interestingly, Nigeria, South Africa, and even Ghana beside us are having one of the lowest. But I think the point is not really in the borrowing, but do we have enough sustainability framework to sustain it and to translate it in such a way that it will impact the common life? I think that was what the representative of the speaker was trying to make at the summit, where he made that comment about the need for fiscal reforms to drive Nigeria's debt.
Yes, that has always been the position of the parliament, and Mr. Speaker's speech did not deviate from the position of the parliament. Our position has always been that within the sub-region, of course, at the event where that speech was also delivered, it was the West African Public Accounts and Finance Committee Conference, which our country is privileged to be hosting this time. We, as the giant of this continent, have a duty and responsibility to continue to lead the way in terms of legislation and other activities that we carry out. And our parliament is one of the strongest parliaments as far as the sub-region is concerned.
Sorry, so quickly, let me just clarify your points now, because when you're talking about having that sustainable fiscal framework, a lot of people are also complaining about the chaotic situation of the Nigeria's budget, and saying that the budget has recorded some is not in line, complaining about a potential abysmal failure in Nigeria's budget performance. How would you like to react to this?
Well, we in the last 2 weeks, we have done quite a lot, our committees working directly with the Honorable Minister of Finance and the Honorable Minister of Budget and National Planning, and we have looked at this issue. And I can tell Nigerians from my standpoint that the budget is doing very fine. What is being delayed at the moment is some components of the capital expenditure framework, which, of course, our constituents are concerned. Nigerians are actually concerned that we have not been able to do much in that regard. But when we invited the Honorable Minister of Finance and his colleague, in the budget and national economic planning, they made a very wonderful presentation, and they made it very clear to us that they've been able to service a larger part of this, and that procurement processes have also taken place. And that after the procurement processes, in the next few days, they are now going to, because they have also introduced measures to ensure that within themselves, within the executive, there's a high level of check and balances. And that which they have done is to ensure that procurement processes, which of course in the past didn't follow due processes, have been rectified. They've made sure that,
All right. Okay. Okay, Honorable Philip. So the Financial Responsibility Act of 2007 is the constitutional instrument that states that our debt to GDP limit should be 40%. And so based off of a legal standing, we've exceeded what our own constitution requires and recommends. However, having said that, you've also said that the budget is doing well, that it's progressing. We're yet to see any budget performance numbers. So can you share what's the budget performance in terms of numbers? What percentage are we looking at? Because we're running 3 concurrent budgets. So which of them is performing well? And at what percentage?
Well, I don't really understand what you mean by running 3 budget, but as a parliament, I understand that the 2024 budget, which we approve and give, we gave approval to the executive to be able to service and conclude on critical infrastructural projects embedded in that budget. That is being handled. And with our recent interaction with the Honorable Minister of Finance, I think that has been taken care of about 90 to 99%. Because they are just concluding the final leg of payments to contractors to finish that budget. And when you want to also look at it in terms of realities, are those projects captured in the 2024 Appropriation Act? You know, because if you look at the personnel, no Nigerian worker is being owed salary for 2024. And if you also look at the personnel side of the budget, no Nigerian worker...
Because the doctors are about to strike anyway. We don't have time to get into that.
Yes, I don't know. The doctors are not, I don't think doctors are going on strike because they've not been paid salary. Probably they are arguing for other conditions of service.
They have salary backlogs.
They might be arguing for other conditions of service not known to the parliament.
And projects.
Yes,
and the elephant in the room.
Yeah, people are talking about constituency project because the executive has not, executed those projects. Like I mentioned earlier, we have interacted with the key holders of power in that regards, and even today by 11 o'clock, we'll be meeting with the Honorable Minister of Finance and his counterpart in the budget and national planning. They are going to give us the exact situation. We'll be discussing with them, and we know what they have done. So they've also been able to do quite a lot in terms of rendering payments to contractors. And what they are doing, it might actually look slow to Nigerians, but they are making sure that every money, paid to contractors, are going into the right places. So we don't have this situation where you pay for services that have not been rendered and you have to get the EFCC or the ICPC to begin to chase the money. So you can actually do the right thing before making the payment. And I think in that direction, the executive is actually doing well, and we're in support of what they are doing. So it doesn't matter. We are not really, we are not interested in the speed. We want the right thing to be done. And that is the standpoint of Mr. Speaker and the Parliament.
Thank you very much, Honorable Philip Agbese, for joining us this morning.
That's right. He's a deputy spokesperson in the House of Representatives, giving us insight into the budget and the process that goes into monitoring our budget. Thank you for your time today. That's all we have time for, unfortunately, here on Daybreak. But we'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. Until then, I'm Bambai Mutiniri Ekweyong.
And I'm Benga Ashiru. It's goodbye from me.
Of course, I'm Adesu Agiwa-Osage. Thank you for joining us.
And I'm Yolanda Robert. Please do keep it here on Arise News. The morning show is next. Goodbye.